Thank you for staying with us. Now, days after the Supreme Court ruling that affirmed President Bola Tinubu as winner of the 2023 presidential election, reactions are still coming in. On Monday, candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, held a press conference to convey his reaction to the judgment. He described the actions of the Supreme Court justices as supporting forgery and a miscarriage of justice. In its response to that press briefing, the All Progressives Congress asked the PDP's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, to accept defeat from the February the 25th presidential election. Now, this latest call was contained in a statement by APC's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, who described Mr. Atiku's speech during his press conference on Monday as, quote, a long, windy, incoherent, and preposterous, unbefitting of a former vice president, end quote. The statement adds that it is delusional for Mr. Atiku to have expected the courts to rely on their bogus, flimsy, unverifiable, uncorroborated, illogical, and hearsay evidence to upturn an election that was conducted in substantial compliance with the Constitution and electoral laws. The party asks him to stop denying and disrespecting the collective will of Nigerians, disparaging the judiciary and trying to incite rage. Well, joining us in the studio is public affairs analyst and strategy consultant, Kenny Adenuga. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show this morning.
Say thank you very much.
Right. Atiku has reacted to the Supreme Court's ruling, and let's even get your perspective to what he said during his presser.
I listened to the former vice president, and I asked myself, why would he get himself to this point to do this kind of thing?
What is this point? Give it to me, please.
You see, the reality on ground is that one must know when to let off. I mean, a wise man, naturally, will know when to run and when not to run, when to say and when not to say. Because it's not everything that happens that you must have response to. At this point, don't forget that he just did.
But he's exercising his constitutional right.
It's okay. You can exercise your constitutional right.
Right.
But the reality is you must ask yourself, is it exigent? Is it expedient at the same time? Sometimes some things are lawful, but not necessarily expedient. For somebody of his caliber, his experience in governance, supposedly, and what have you, I didn't think, because we just had a world press conference in court from him a few weeks before the judgment. And then a week after the judgment or thereabout, he's calling another one. I mean, is world press conference that cheap or that easy? Has it become something that anybody can just quickly call at any point at the whim of an individual? These are some of the things I've seen around that actually makes me ask questions. Do we just throw things around, world press conference, and you see somebody in some room and what have you? But this one, of course, yes, he has every right to make call the conference. But the question is, you then have to look at the things that were said at the conference, supposedly, at the press conference, supposedly.
Yeah.
Are they becoming of someone of his pedigree? Those are the things you want to ask.
Were they?
For me, they're not. And that's the truth. I mean, if you must look at it, you don't tear down your house, naturally. Let me say from the very beginning, where I come from, they used to say certain things. If I'm permitted to say it in my language, I'll say it in English as well.
Absolutely.
In English, it says that a parent, a mother, never out of annoyance throws a child to the colony of soldier ants. Because when your mind is at rest, when you feel a bit of lessened anger, or when your anger dissipates, the soldier ants won't hear anything. So in Yorubas, they say, Obi ogbodo binu ju omo sagiyan irun. Tori tinu obi ba ro tan inu irun ni ro. In one word, whatever you say, the things we say, I mean, I've seen a lot of things that have been said on the social media, even by people that are supposed to be leaders. We forget that the things we say actually those things go out there, and they come back to us to hurt our nation as a people, and also hurt the entire nation when it comes to how people perceive us and see us. So things that happen in some other countries, if we hear them, we will not want to visit them. But they find a way of managing information, managing things, and also still being able to criticize or do positive criticism or do a critique of whatever is going on within their governance and the environment, we must understand the social construct of international relationship and what have you. Some of the things we do come back to impact. And for him, who should know better, having been a number 2, a GCON, there are certain things he said that I didn't think that should have come from him. Somebody else actually should have said that on his behalf, and he calls the person and said, you shouldn't go there. But for him to be the one to say them, I think is a disappointment. I'll say it straight.
I was actually scared myself. I was worried myself because I watched a live broadcast of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and he said something like African countries collapse, referring to some of the African countries that actually collapsed, said with a statement that Nigerians know what to do with the knowledge, after reading out some of the foray to the United States of America. And I said it's clearly obvious that Atiku and the PDP, yeah. So what I made from it was that I was looking like with the knowledge that Nigerians now have, according to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, I was afraid that what could happen next, it seemed to me like it was calling for chaos. Did you see it that way as well?
To call it what it is, the former Vice President was actually just trying to incite the public against the government. That's the truth. There are certain things that, which is why I said it shouldn't be him. Because he should naturally understand what it means to incite the public against government. There's sedition, there is treachery, there is all manner of things and whatever you want to allege. And sometimes, you see, some of these things come subtle. You throw things out as seed in people's mind.
Right.
And when people listen to those things, today we have a group of people, so to say, a set of people in our nation that have this cancel culture. And they don't see things, they don't read. Some of them actually are illiterate at the best, so to say, not because they didn't go to school, but because they don't understand a lot of things. Imagine somebody talking about the president hosting the German chancellor, and then somebody going on Twitter to start writing about the fact that, there are chancellors in Nigeria universities that he has not hosted, and he's hosting a chancellor from. And I'm like, and these are the kind of people that he's speaking to. So they don't reason. It becomes a mob mentality. And you see, where there is groupthink, where there is groupthink in psychology, it becomes a problem. Where everybody either coalesces around an issue or an individual or a cause. They don't think properly to see the implication of some of the things they're doing. So I think the former vice president is not doing well in this regard, but with these inciting statements he made at the press conference, because those things and he made allusions. When you make allusions to other African countries where there have been issues and how things had happened, in one word, what I'm trying to say is like you want the same situation. So you're more or less calling for insurrection, or perhaps a violent takeover of the government, or whichever. So those things are not, they're totally out of order for anybody, not to talk of a former vice president who has the privilege of bearing the GCON. I think it's just totally out of order for him, and it's a shame that we will have such coming from one of our leaders. Sincerely, we need to call to question the kind of leadership we've had over the years, and how some of them actually, maybe desperation, maybe because somebody has been at this post for 30 years, like the pool of Bethesda. You've been, somebody else always comes in, and then you want to tell yourself, it's no longer my turn. And at this point, it's like the desperate thing, the last minute, if I don't get it now, this is not just...
He's saying that he's not going anywhere.
Well, but at the same time, while he says he's not going anywhere, he's also now saying that the fight is not for him, but younger generations. If you read that very well. So I saw through the line in that and said, okay, fine. He says he's not going anywhere. But at the same time, in the same breath, he's saying that they're leaving the fight for the younger generations. So you reprobate and approbate. The same thing that's been going on, you're saying that at the Supreme, you're asking the court to disqualify someone, while at the same time you are asking the court that there should be a rerun between you and the person. So which one are you asking for? So those are some of the things we see, this doublespeak and ambivalence we see and across some of the things that the former vice president is doing. And it calls to question a lot of things.
If I hear you correctly, it means that everything he's been saying, it's all about personal interest. It's against the interest of the nation, because he said that he is not the loser, but Nigeria is.
Oh, he's not the loser. Now, the reality on the ground is this. We are not the loser. I'll say it to anybody. We're not the loser because we would have been a loser if we have someone like him as a president today. That's the truth. Because you want to ask yourself, why are you this desperate? To do what? And he said it before. We've heard it before. It's on record when the former vice president said that he's going into government for his friends. I mean, that's on record, if I get it right. So, in a way, we ask questions. What will it be like if we have such a person? And whatever he wants to say, the former vice president should go and sue his principal when he was vice president. That's Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Right. For what he wrote in his memoirs, in his biography about Atiku Abubakar. So, former vice president.
You think that is what is haunting him?
No. Well, it's not necessarily part of that, but that is also part of the whole thing. You see, it's a total thing. We must look at things holistically. It's all, people don't forget. People didn't forget what happened with BP, with, what's it called? The public, Bureau of Public Enterprise and all the things that went on with privatization and what have you. People never forgot how a number of things went down the line. And the question is, you're talking about somebody, if you must come to equity, come with clean hands. Right. That's one thing.
So are you saying that you agree with former President Olusegun Obasanjo when he said what you were trying to allude to, and I'll try to read it out to you. He said, what I did not know, which came out glaringly later, was his parental background, which was somewhat shadowy, his propensity to corruption, his tendency to disloyalty, his inability to say and stick to the truth at all time, a propensity for poor judgment, his belief and reliance on marabouts, his lack of transparency, his trust in money to buy his way out on all issues, and his readiness to sacrifice morality, integrity, propriety, truth, and national interest for self and selfish interest. Are you saying that you're also agreeing with the former president on this position?
The issue is not about agreeing or not agreeing. Let him controvert all of that. And then he can come and talk to us as Nigerians. Simple. You take your former principal, take him to court for libel, and let this be disproved. Disproved. Then you can come and talk to us and play to the gallery. As long as you're quiet about what General Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has said before concerning you, and you're quiet about it, you cannot controvert it, then you don't have the moral ground to come and stand and start telling us things, sincerely. So in a way, all the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar GCON is doing, to me, is just like, you know what, it's over. So it's when you cut a snake, and the snake is just trashing all over and what have you. See, whatever it is, I can't milk the cow, but I can spill it if possible. Unfortunately, every of the move that he made didn't turn out. They were like, you just went on an excursion. Unfortunately, he got taken in by believing the legal practitioners who actually wanted to, because in the next 4 years, they're not sure if they're going to make the kind of money they're making now. I mean, they made in this season, in the next 4 years. So they of course, if it's you, what will you do? Sometimes, because they believe that if they don't take what they need to take now, they may never be able to get it from him again. So all manner of spurious things will come. We can do this, we can do that. If we plead this, but forgetting that there are things that he said something. The former president was talking about certain issues when it comes to the Electoral Act, and the fact that the INEC should naturally disapprove of certain people not to come for election because of maybe certificate or this and that. He forgot that while the same party that he was in as vice president was the party in power at the time the National Assembly actually changed the act to say that INEC does not have power to disqualify. So how do you now come back and push it to INEC and try to tar INEC black for what was done under the party in which you contested? So in a way, I think, like I said, if he had had a very deep thought, certain things he would not do. And he's forgetting one thing. Maybe the former vice president wants to go back and sit down and become the Turaki of Sharjah or Palm Jumeirah. I wouldn't know. Because if you say this is your country, certain things you have said, should not be said. Because where I come from, my grandmother would say that the sword never shreds or tears at its shield. I'll say it in my language afterwards. Because any sword that shares or shreds at its, shreds its sheath will suffer this, will suffer the indignity of being beaten by rain, will go rust, and also go blunt. And so let me say it in my language. When you da God of Akoya, torí da to ba fa Akoya, ajiya ojo, adogun, akuloju. And that's exactly what is going on. When we shred our nation, which is supposed to be our shield, when we shred it to outsiders before everybody, when that nation needs to actually cover you, you're not going to have it there to cover you. Because people are going to say, you know what, you are the same people who actually did this to your country. And that's what a number of people are doing on X and some other social media platforms. They don't understand, because for them, it's just that we don't have our way, so we rather just scatter everything. Is it my way or the highway? And that's what the vice president has just done here, which I think is totally out of order.
He's still looking at, again, I'll go back to this matter of he not going away and he's still being active in politics. He's 76 now. And if we look at 4 years from now, he'll be 80. And if it's 8 years...
I think he's 77 now.
He's, okay, so 81
or thereabouts.
81, he'll be in his 80s.
Absolutely.
Bottom line. I mean, how much is he bringing to the table for Nigerians if he still feels that he has that strength to be active in politics and contribute to the growth of the country?
Maybe as a godfather.
After all, Joe Biden, Trump,
No, you see,
right?
the truth is, it doesn't work that way. You see, this is where we are. Forget whatever happened in the US. The fact remains that, Yoruba say something about Shoroye. You only see the throne, you don't get there. I think the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, should actually have come to a point where he would settle it with his mind.
It's difficult.
That this is difficult. But if a man of strength, a man of character, a man who actually understands life and it's the way life plays, will come to terms with himself and come to peace. Could be at peace with himself to say, you know what? I think at this point I need to accept. Like Yorubas would say, Gbejefori, this is not what I'm supposed to be.
But you don't know who those who are around him that are singing praises to him.
No, you see, that...
Like
I mean, you're coming so close, so that's another step, another effort. For
him as a politician in the last 30 years of trying this, you see, even young politicians will tell you that when people begin to start saying, oh, my chair, they want to collect what you have. When they collect it, honorable, when they collect it afterwards, you will stop being honorable. And that's the truth. So, and I think at his age and whatever, it should be a case of Oye Lagbangwo. The elder actually just looks at things and you're able to distill and sieve things to be able to say, this is right, this is wrong. What these people are telling me is right or wrong, or they are just saying it for certain sake. So at the end of the day, what we have...
But with his experience, one expected he should have, shown that, but it doesn't, it's not playing out.
Well, I don't want to say something. People always talk about, pardon me, people always talk about the fact that wisdom comes with age.
Right.
But I tell people, no.
It comes with?
A foolish man grows old as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you need to say no more.
I don't need to say more than that. But what I'll say in essence is this. We have a Raila Odinga case on our hand in Nigeria. And they had better just, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar had better just accept that fate, in quote, did not write it down for him that he will ever become the president of Nigeria. Maybe number 2 at most. And that's enough for a man on earth in this lifetime. Because there are millions in their hundreds in this same nation who cannot even boast of becoming vice chairman of a local government.
Right.
Very quickly, but he raised some cogent points, although he also referred to the issue of the IREV, which the Supreme Court and also the PPC had settled. But then he said that he called for an urgent constitutional amendment that would prevent any technicality, and also that our democracy must be substantive to ensure free and fair election, and that whoever is declared winner, whoever is declared by INEC as winner of the presidential election should not be sworn in until all litigations are put to rest. So what do you see to that?
See, it's of course, it's a voice and the hollers of a drowning man, or a man who is drowned already. And sometimes it's said that when you're about to go in fact, I just read a research study just a day or two before that, the brain doesn't die a few minutes. They found out that it takes about an hour. No, now it's about an hour. That people think that it flattens out. But there are certain things you find out while the person seems to have died. And a dying man actually has consciousness. There's a level of consciousness that is higher than your immediate reality. Now, is that what is happening to him now? Done this. But since after 1979, we've not had that situation until he's talking about it again now. When he contested before now, over the last 30 years, did he come up with this? Did he fight for this to happen? So why now? My grandmother would say that the rodent.
Your grandmother.
My grandmother would say that the rodent actually forgot to take action or to take caution early on time. Only for it to now start shouting and crying in the when it's already out there in the marketplace roasted. So in a way, it's late in the day. Even if that is changed, number one, you must go back to the National Assembly. Somebody will need to raise that as a motion at the National Assembly. Look at electoral law amendment. So the Electoral Act has to be amended. Now, so it's going to take how long? Not this electoral cycle. And then even if it's going to come in the next one, what's the assurance that he will be a candidate of a party?
Yeah, that's why he probably is proposing that there should be a 6-year single term.
6 years single term. 6 years single term is just, people have raised that over the years. And I keep telling people, you see, when you talk about a 6-year single term, you're paving way for a number of things that you don't think about. I look at it from a strategic management point of view. One, for governance, it's better that you have a 4-year. So that within those 4 years, you are able to make up your mind as a people if you need to change the guard or the leadership. 6 years is too long to think of. That means people are stuck for 6 years with this person. But if we have something that is good, after 4 years, we can tell the person, you know what, do one more term. To consolidate. But 6 years is long enough to mess up everything.
Right.
So in a way, you say 6 years, that means we're stuck with this person for 6 years. Of course, if you talk of impeachment process and what have you, in this environment is not something that anybody will find for.
Easy.
You just saw what's going on, what went down in Rivers and what have you, which is just a federating unit. Not talk of the entire federation. There's so much angles to it. There's so much things at stake that impeachment is actually not going to be an easy thing. So at the end of the day, I don't believe in the single-year term. Let's have 4 years. If this person isn't doing well, if we're able to strengthen our democracy and votes count like it did in this last election, people may want to controvert it, but they should show me evidence that the votes did not count. It's not about going on social media to talk. It's not about grandstanding anywhere. Show the evidence. Even those who went to court,
they were asked to
provide.
Evidence.
They couldn't.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? It's not about somebody playing to the gallery and what have you. Let us leave all of that. Let us deepen the democratic values. Let us strengthen our democratic ethos. And then we can talk about the fact that if somebody doesn't do well, he cannot come back in 4 years. With that, I think we'll be good.
And that is some of the things that some persons are talking about with regards to having a vibrant opposition as it is for our democracy, that perhaps he should begin to look at playing that role with his party members now, because you mentioned earlier that if he is to come out perhaps in the next 4 years, you are not sure if you have a platform to run on. Well, I believe that the same PDP might want to, absorb him as their flag bearer, so to speak.
Well, I'm wondering, it would be interesting to see PDP actually allow him to run on that platform again the next season. However, the reality, the truth to be told, when you have to look at how some of these things have played out, the former vice president, actually, like I said, should sit in as an elder statesman at this point. That's the truth. Because an elderly person doesn't run helter-skelter. You don't jump from here to there. It doesn't put you in a good stead. It doesn't make people, it doesn't bring utmost respect, so to say. So in a way, when you have to look at some of these things and how they play out, the next cycle of election actually comes with, and should come with, a clear-cut understanding of where we're going. The president has said, just like our president has said, every buck stops at my table. So we're going to take the president to account in the next 3 years, thereabout, to say, Your Excellency, you promised this, and you failed. So we don't want you again. That's what it's supposed to be. In America, there's, somebody, Donald Trump was the president, and the people came back and said they didn't want him again.
Anymore. Yeah.
One time, he can come back and he can fight as much as he wants. He has lost that cycle. He may come back again. You saw what happened in Bayelsa. Sylvia was out. Now he went away. Good enough for him. He got a ministerial appointment, and he's now back trying to contest for another term. So if you lose, go home. Your people say they don't want you. If in the course of the whole thing you do well, or they feel that you are better than the person they've elected, because they always say that if a woman doesn't try two homes, he may not be able to appreciate one against the other. So
she may not be able to go back to the first.
She may not be able to, unfortunately. But if he's able to go back, some are fortunate to go back anyway. But if he's able to go back, we can go back and say, it was an error. We were wrong in chasing you out. You're actually better than the one we thought we were going to have. So can you please come back?
That's left to the man anyway. But then expert believe that there are still more options for Atiku Abubakar. Maybe that's why he said that if you think we're going away, forget about it. They said that it could escalate this to ECOWAS Court of Justice, the African Court of Justice and Human Rights, the primary judicial agency of the African Union, or he could also petition the African Union, or the United Nations rather, to set up the civil equivalent or equivalents of the International Criminal Court. But do you think all of this are consequential? How consequential can this expedition be for former Vice President President Atiku Abubakar's quest for the highest job on the land?
You see, it's interesting and laughable because I want to ask questions. Why would they want him to keep digging the crater for himself? He would dig to a point where he will get the geyser, or will actually get to, in geography, you have barosphere, the lithosphere, and what. He will get to a point where he probably will get, to the, not purgatory. He will hit the hot lava if he's not careful. The question is, to what intent? This is a sovereign nation, for God's sake. And the highest court in the land has ruled. So, what else? You want to go to ECOWAS will now come and determine.
Yeah, he called for the international communities to come
to do what?
The aid of democracy.
Which aid? To come and what? To come and chase the president that was duly elected and went through the process of litigation and what have you, and controverting his election. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court of the land says this is our verdict. Will they come and override Supreme Court of Nigeria judgment? Will they come and chase the president away and say, oh, we are agreeing with this person, so you can't be president? Or will they bring, mercenaries to come and chase him out or what? I'm wondering. So those they don't like him, and they want to make him a laughingstock the more. To say, and as I said, it's ridiculous. Some things get to the point of you ask yourself, how do people think? And how do they think that somebody in his right mind would want to accept some of these things they are putting out? It never happens anywhere. Never. No matter how bad it is, America cannot come and chase out a duly elected government in Nigeria or even in Congo.
Okay, even when there is a coup, there is little to nothing.
Even when there's a coup, there is a limit to how you can handle it.
We're wrapping up this conversation now. So what should the PDP do on the one hand, and what should Atiku do? Your final words.
Well, I would say that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, GCON, should go home and rest. Sip enough kunu, enjoy his old age. Take care.
Are there kunu in UAE?
They can import
you can find, they have their drinks.
They have their drinks. He can also import it from Nigeria.
That's right.
We can export it to him. It's okay. But the truth is, I think he should just be an elder statesman, play with his grandchildren, live the rest of his years in peace and joy, and stop chasing rats all over the place. Because when you chase rats here and there, you don't get anyone. And it's just like when the wind blows you and you keep fighting as a tree, as an orange tree or a purple tree, you are likely to lose what you hold. Yes. The wind doesn't have anything to lose. But you must learn to let things go. And that's actually what happens with the coconut tree. The wind blows to this side, it just says, go, no problem. But when the wind goes, because the wind is always temporal, when the wind blows over, he's still going to rise up and tall and stand tall. Nobody knows the wind came at any point. But when you're shouting and fighting, you want to grab everything and what have you, you lose at the end of the day. So I think at this point, he should just stay in a respectable elder statesman's level and go home to rest, play with his grandchildren, enjoy the rest of his life at 77. Probably, if we give him 20 more years to live, at 97, because very few actually live to 100, maybe 97, 98. So let's give him 20 more years to live. Let him just be an ancestor. That we will always say, yes, he was here and he did very well. But for the party, I think the party should look inward and begin to put its house in order, rather. Whatever happened before the election that shredded the party into 3 or 4 parts, they should look at how to reconverge and strengthen the party all over again so that they can be a credible opposition to the government in power, which was what ACN and APC did before. Be a credible opposition. We need opposition to be vibrant and credible. I use my word very advisedly, vibrant and credible. Yeah. Don't criticize negatively. Let it be constructive and positive, and then build your own home. Because if you don't, the next cycle of election, you're not likely to have what it takes. So begin to build now, and with a focus to say, okay, fine, in the next 4 years, this is where we want to be. In the next 2 years, we want to have strengthened ourselves to this point. In the next 3 years, in the next election cycle, we want to have become this, be this strong and what have you. That is the only way they can go forward. Otherwise, right. And I think I'm grateful that they also are looking inward. In the light of what happened in Rivers, yes. You can hear some of the things that Governor Bala Usman was saying.
Yes,
appreciating the president. Yeah. And that is how to play politics.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have to leave it here now. Our time is up. As well. Please, our greetings to her.
Well, I'll send WhatsApp to her in the grave.
Oh, she's fast. Oh.
Of course, grandmother.
Anyway, public affairs analyst and strategy consultant Kenny Adenugba, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.